In the 3 months since Charlie Kirk was murdered, I've really tried not to comment on the murder investigation in public. And it's not because I don't care, of course. I love Charlie and knew him well since he was a teenager. But I haven't said anything about it. I really tried not to say anything about it. First, because I don't really know anything that everyone else doesn't know. I've asked around, but of course, how do you know what the truth is? But the other reason I haven't said anything is because I know personally a number of the people involved in what's now become a very large story. I know them really well. And I really think a lot of all of them on every side. Candace Owens, I've known a long time. I love Candace Owens. Blake Neff at TPUSA once worked for me at a couple of different places, and I love Blake Neff. Erica Kirk, I've known since she was dating Charlie Kirk, and I love Erica Kirk. And I think these are all really, really decent people. And so it's been my desire for 3 months not to get involved in any of this. And in general, to think to myself, anybody who is earnestly searching for the truth, whether they're right or wrong, but as long as they're motivated by a desire to find out what happened and therefore honor Charlie's memory by getting to justice, anyone who's doing that, I'm not going to criticize. Again, no matter what track they're on, lots of us, and this has certainly happened to me, have good moments, but good motives, but wind up in the wrong place. But it's a sincere mistake. So that definitely happens. I have done that, and so I've just wanted to stay out. And then the other day, I had like a 3-hour conversation with Theo Vaughn, and it was not about Charlie Kirk or anything related to it, but that topic came up. And I said, in effect, I don't trust the FBI. And that gave some people the impression that I was, accusing them of being involved in Charlie's assassination. And of course I wasn't. And I certainly didn't mean to. But it gives me the chance now to say what I think, which is that we should not necessarily trust the FBI. And by the way, why would we? It's not an attack on, the political leadership of it. I've known Dan Bongino, for example, for a long time and like Dan, and don't imagine he would ever be involved in intentionally covering up a murder of somebody. I don't believe that. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, for that matter, are at the top of the org chart, but this is a huge organization and parts of it act independently from leadership. That's the nature of bureaucracy. So saying, well, I like Dan Bongino and don't think he would do something wrong on purpose, which is how I feel, doesn't mean that I trust the FBI or have to trust the FBI. And again, why would I? If there's one lesson of the last election, the 2024 election, it's that a lot of our biggest systems, our biggest institutions have rot in them, and that needs to be reformed. And as if we needed more proof of it, we'd learned what a lot of us suspected for years, that January 6th was in effect a setup, and the FBI was key to that setup. And it's still not clear that everyone involved in that setup at the FBI has been fired or punished for that. So no person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes, participating illegally in our political system, for example, as the FBI has done, manufacturing crimes, setting people up, distorting justice. That's the opposite of their job, of course, which is to get to justice through facts and then to tell the rest of us how they arrived at this conclusion, to prove to the rest of us that the right people are being punished. So we're not under any obligation. Of course, we shouldn't invent theories to discredit the FBI, but it's not enough to have government officials tell us, well, this is the truth. We have a right, probably an obligation, to say, well, can you prove it? And if you can't, I don't have to believe you. So if there's one thing that bothers me above all about the investigation into Charlie Kirk, is that is getting lost. As people argue over what happened, we are potentially letting our largest federal law enforcement agency off the hook. It is the job of the FBI to find out what happened and to tell the rest of us, not hide behind, well, it's national security, confidential sources. No, tell us what happened. Show us what happened. Convince us what happened. That's your job. And we shouldn't accept anything less. And by the way, when we do accept something less, then, new explanations fill the vacuum left by the FBI, which we pay to explain to us what happened. And so I'm going to really do my best not to talk about things I don't understand, state things as though I know them when I don't know them. I'm going to do my best to stay out of it because I love Charlie and I want justice to be done in this case. But the rest of us should remain skeptical. We have a duty to remain skeptical, and we should not be ashamed of our skepticism. Thanks.